Welcome back to the Act Two podcast, a podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Hugh.
And I am Josh Hallman.
And we are Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This podcast is just one of the things we do, so thank you for joining us here. You can also subscribe to the podcast, give us a rating, write a comment, but we prefer that you DM us with questions and topic suggestions. Oh, Josh doesn't prefer that.
We do like that, but yeah, if you could write a nice little comment, give a good rating, that's great.
Yeah. You can do all those things at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com, all spelled out, or on Instagram and Twitter at ActTwoWriters. I am Story Thursday on Instagram and Tasha 3.0 on Twitter and Blue Sky.
And I'm Joshua Hallman on Twitter, Josh Hallman on Instagram. Can I make a very quick comment about...
Yes.
Why are you looking at me like
I don't know.
It's nothing personal.
I didn't know if you were going to comment on me.
No.
And how crazy I may look this morning.
No, not at all. By the way, we're doing this early.
Yeah, I'm going to be drinking coffee through this.
I'm crushing coffee. I told you this, not that this is anyone cares about this on the Act 2 podcast, but right before this started, I was getting ready and my garbage man starts coming down the street and I was like, it's very early, what the heck? So I looked outside and sure enough, this guy's just coming. I ended up willingly chased a garbage truck down the street trying to get this guy's attention to circle back and come get one of my garbage cans, and then he got away. So then
I didn't know people did this in real life, Josh. I thought this was only in movies.
I didn't think it happened either. And then it happened. And then I was like, oh man. And I was kind of tired. And now I'm just like completely fired up because I sprinted after a truck. All right. Do you have a This Week in Writing?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go.
This Week in Writing.
Okay, I have a lot to say about this. I am currently writing a pitch document. And a pitch document can be any of the following things, and probably more. It's considered like a one-pager, a lookbook, a Bible, a format document. Basically, whatever it is that you are giving to another human being that is not your script, but it is like a summary explanation of your script, is what I'm referring to here as a pitch document. And I had some reminders this week about pitch documents that I felt was important to share, which is that writing a pitch document is 100% a skill that you have to practice and that you have to hone, and that you should think about as separate from your skills as a writer of scripts or a writer of excellent prose, because I know for a fact that you can write the most Oscar-winning script and still not be able to write one of these pitch documents. You can also be the most beautiful, award-winning author and still not be able to write a pitch document. It is a completely separate skill. And the reason I want you to hear that and to remind myself this is because I want you to know that when you start to struggle with it, you can't figure out the wording quite right, it's just not coming through the way you intended, people aren't responding the way you hoped they would, then it is a skill that you can grow. It's not just, well, I'm not good at this, or they're just morons. It is something you can learn to do better. You just have to work on it. And I think the second reason I want everyone to hear that it is a separate skill is that you have to think of your pitch document differently than any of your other documents, which is actually telling me that it's probably time for an episode on pitch documents.
As you were saying this, I was thinking, we should do a pitch document episode.
Yeah, I think we really should. But my actual This Week in Writing about this is that when I was doing my pitch document, I really realized something that maybe I took for granted all these years from doing them for so long, is that organization is extremely key. And we talked about the experience of the audience a couple weeks ago when someone picks up your script. What do you want them to feel in the process of reading? Also, what do you want them to feel in the process of watching your movie, etc.? Think about that as well when someone picks up your pitch document, where from start to finish, it really needs to be a curated hand-holding of this person through your idea, which means your headings have to be extremely clear. bold them, separate them with paragraph lines. Paragraphs also need to be concise, in my opinion, and we can get into this in a lot more detail in our episode about this, but you should favor like full sentences over clauses, because if something is suddenly becoming a long sentence with a lot of commas separating ideas, start to look at how to break those up into separate sentences. And the way I like to think of it is each sentence is like a stepping stone, kind of hand holding the reader to the next sentence, and so on. So clear headings, clear and concise prose, and put it in an order that makes sense. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a document start in kind of bizarre ways where it's like, here's the characters, and then here's the log line. It's like, well, but how do I care about your characters and have any context for what they're doing if I don't know what the fuck I'm reading about?
The flow.
Also, the flow of it is so key, right? In short, think about the reader's experience of your document in writing any kind of pitch document, and we will get into this in another episode because I'm fired up about it. I feel like I have a lot to say.
I feel like we could just pivot on the spot and let you do an entire episode on the pitch document.
Just be riffing, but we could. All right. No, what do you got?
Well, wait, do you have images in your pitch document?
It depends on the document, to be honest with you. It depends on what its purpose is going to be for and also who is actually going to be reading it. So it changes depending on the thing.
Okay. We're going to get into that.
Yeah.
Okay, main topic. This episode is about self-talk. What is self-talk, Tasha?
What is it? What is it and why did you want to talk about it?
So I wanted to talk about it because we've talked about being hard on ourselves in the past. We've talked about it separately, and we've talked about it on the podcast. I can't remember how this started. I think I was talking to a friend. I've talked to actually multiple friends, and a lot of people, like the industry is in a weird place, right? So it doesn't help that these articles are coming out doom and gloom left and right from various publications. And like put that mixed with people are trying to sell their scripts. People are trying to get people attached to their scripts, all the things. And when these things don't happen, you start almost like blaming yourself in the process for it, which was happening with some of my friends. You know, you're kind of like, what's wrong with my script? And then you snowball effect down to, I'm a piece of shit, right? That's where you start in one direction of like, hey, well, what's going on in the industry, down to, well, my script must not be great. My writing must not be great.
I quit.
I think I had a good run. I'll be going back to Wisconsin now.
You literally just sent me an article last night that I did this too. I was like, it's basically a show that came out that is something that like I feel like I should have written. It's something I'm thinking about. It's things I've talked about to other people, and the show exists, and it was getting a review. And I was like, why do other people get to do nice things? And I like the next thing that I was going to text you, which I did not. I constrained myself, was I give up.
I guess it's also worth noting on this. You did get a compliment from somebody.
It doesn't matter.
You got a great compliment from somebody.
You know that scene in Pretty Woman where
I'm aware.
Julia Roberts says it's so much easier to remember like the bad things someone tells you than to remember the compliments. I don't know if that scene stuck out at you, but when I was a kid, I remember seeing that and being like, whoa, she is a philosopher. And of course, we all know that this is true. And it's true. I got an amazing compliment from a writer I super respect on the same day that I texted Josh that I wanted to give up.
In addition to that, I was like, wait a minute, we've given you this compliment before.
I know, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's like your mom can tell you you're pretty all day long. But when someone else does,
you're like, you're lying. So, all right. So this all, then I guess kind of bringing this all around is that I thought it was important for us to talk about this topic because we need to, one, acknowledge that, and listen, this isn't some like guru episode. This is not what we're trying to do here, but just to like acknowledge that people do this and people talk negatively about themselves, and it's very bad when it comes to industry related things because you stop writing. Like you can talk yourself out of anything. Yeah, I guess let's just start there. let's just start at that point, because I think there is a area that we were just talking about where you can just go and spiral down the rabbit hole if things are not working out for you.
Yeah.
I don't know that listen, I'm not going to sit here and be like, just stay positive, man. Just stay positive like that. There's a lot of gray area.
I don't
here.
think that's what we're saying.
No.
Also, this is like one of the only industries I can think of at the moment where negative self-talk can actually completely ruin your career. Meaning, like, it's not like if Universal collapsed suddenly, it's not like I would be out of a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm out of a job because I quit the industry. So many people quit this industry before they ever make it that's that's the end of your career because you self-talked yourself into quitting. And that's why it's so key. We do it all the time. So yeah, self-talk is super important. And I have like so many things that have happened this week regarding self-talk that I'm actually excited to talk about.
So this also stems from an article that I read that was sent to me a long time ago. And it was even from, I think it was from like years ago. I sent it to you. I just want to read the beginning of this article. The article is titled, Why Screenwriters Should Watch How They Talk to Themselves. And it starts with, self-talk matters. Self-perception also matters. Both have consequences. Screenwriters tend to be their own harshest critics. The industry is brutal enough without you adding to the negativity. Try your best. That's all you can do. It goes on to say that every writer has the decision to embark on this risky career and hoping that they can hone their craft, their talent, and the marketplace will all collide in this cosmic moment, working in your favor. It's tough. We know it's tough. It's tougher than we anticipated. And it goes on to like really lean into this. And I thought that was great. And it also goes on to talk about having a laissez-faire kind of attitude about yourself and about your career, because I think there's also an aspect where you can talk yourself out of being hopeful for yourself. And if I'm talking to you about a script of mine and I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's all right, whatever. Or you're like a producer that I'm talking to, there's an element of trying to get people excited. So there's this self-talk kind of umbrella where it's talking to yourself, talking about yourself, talking about ideas, and just talking to other people about things.
Gosh, I don't even know. You've just like fired me up again about this. So I'm gonna talk about a recent thing that happened where I was working with a bunch of other people, bunch of other writers, and writers get in their heads. They're really good at that, right? But what was interesting is the more that I got to know people who were in this space, the more I found that certain people were like self-talking in that I am the best. I am so smart. I am amazing. Everything that comes out of my mouth is incredible. It is gold. You are a fool to not take it. And I found that very fascinating. And then some of the smartest people in the room had the opposite self-talk, where they believed, ooh, I came off this way and they probably think I'm a moron, or ooh, I'm not sure my idea is good enough, so I'm probably not going to say it, or I'm going to be really careful about how I say it. And those people were actually insanely smart. And so it's very interesting because either way, you're right? So if you tell yourself you're dumb and you shouldn't say the thing and you shouldn't offer your opinion and it's not working, then you're going to behave as if that is true. And the things that follow will follow because you believe that was true. The people who are like, I'm amazing, this is the best, every idea I have is the greatest thing ever, they also had made choices and were treated as if that were true. And so they sort of self-realized their own self-talk in a positive way. And that is absolutely true.
Can you see through that when people are like, man, this is it. This is like the best script ever?
Yes and no. 90% of the time, yes. But there's a 10% variable where people convince me with a certain je ne sais quoi. And sometimes it takes me a little while to figure out that this person is not confident. I'm going to give another example. I've also worked with people before at a very high level, and I was at the same level as them, but we were sort of we all have very different backgrounds, and I operate from a place of automatically thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not experienced enough to do these things. And so that puts me in a position where I think anyone I work with is going to have more experience than me, be smarter, have better instincts than me. And this is something I am working on every day, you guys, because despite the evidence to the contrary, I still feel this way. So I remember being in multiple meetings where those other people would say things that made me realize, A, their instincts are no more honed than mine. They're not dumber than me. They're no better than me either. And also that they also feel insecurity about their own ideas and opinions. So they may come off as, or present to me, I interpret them as when they give their notes or they comment on something or they throw out their ideas that, oh my God, that is better than mine will ever be, or that is so thought out, or insert thing here that makes that person so much better and smarter than me. But then I hear actually that they are also insecure about those ideas. The same amount as I am. And to me, like in those moments, it all comes crashing down, and I realize that it's like, oh, there's this great equalization. We are actually all approaching this in the same way and with the same experience, with the same intelligence level. But I still feel that. I just felt that yesterday on something. So it's always like this restart that happens, and I have to build myself back up again, which requires positive self-talk, right? So like, even if you have negative self-talk, it's important to build up the positive self-talking along with it to combat it whenever it comes up.
This is why you celebrate the little victories along the way.
It's so important. I feel like you and our writers group have been so good at helping each other celebrate the small wins. You are really bad at celebrating small wins because you don't want to hear about it. You don't want to hear about that win. You're like, it's not quite a win yet. It's like, no, that is actually a huge hill / mountain that you've just climbed.
This is why I think this topic spoke to me, is because like anything could happen. I'm like, yeah, fuck it. On to the next thing. That's fine. We got to just keep moving on.
Yeah.
And then it's not like I'm super negative. It's just more dismissive, I think.
What would you say is your weakness around self-talk? Do you lose hope? Do you think you're a moron? Do you think you'll never make it? Like, what is like the main negative voice that happens to you?
I think for me, it's kind of like never enough type thing.
Oh, like your effort is never enough.
Yeah, like, oh, I could be doing more. I could have been doing more. I could have finished this script a lot faster. This should be done by now. This should have happened. I like even sending something to you guys into a recent writers group. There were very many different reasons why it wasn't in the area it should have been already.
The script that you're taking out that you submitted to us to writers group.
Correct. Yeah. Right. And it should have been good to go but there are certain reasons why, some very much out of my control, why it wasn't. But still, I'm like, you know what? This was supposed to be done. This should have been done. This is what, and then you start like, I'm spiraling within myself. Like, well, obviously I didn't do something right. So that's where my brain goes, where I'm like,
oh, it should have been done, or I should have done more, then correlates to like, there's something wrong with me because I couldn't get there, or like, it's not done yet.
Clearly there was a problem, even though I know there were things that were out of my control, and I can look at that, but it's for like, I just can't accept it. And I'm just like, no, I don't think so. And so that there's that aspect.
I should have done that. You know what? We both had a script, the script that Josh and I are working on, this murder mystery. We got notes on it from my manager, which we talked about on the podcast. And when we started getting into the rewriting of it, I do feel like I had that self-talk of like, well, it's my fault that this script sucks. And that's how and also the script doesn't suck, but that's how it was taught, as like, the script sucks. It's my fault. Maybe I can't write. I just can't write. Like, end of sentence. And like, I should just give up on this script because it's pointless, because I got notes on it. They didn't like it, right? Like, it's so easy to be like, I didn't do enough and it's my fault. Versus I talked to someone like right after I got notes, we got notes rather, on that murder mystery spec. And he's someone who writes a lot of specs. This is someone who his entire career comes from spec writing and selling. And he was like, Oh no, this is literally a process I go through every single spec when
Yeah.
I get notes on my first draft. Because Tasha, it's a first draft. I'm like, oh. Even then, I still thought, well, but it's my fault.
What's funny is when we would be talking about it, I was like, well, how did I not see this?
Yes.
How could I not have seen this?
Oh, that gets to you too. When the note comes to you and you're like, oh, that's so obvious. I'm a moron because
Yeah.
I didn't think of that.
Totally. But what we're writing is so complicated because of the murder mystery aspect, and we're unraveling so much in that. And even when we were talking about it, and we were kind of cracking new things within the story, some new thematic elements, and it's a weird mix of excitement, but also like, oh my God, it was sitting right there. And the hardest part is knowing it's such a fantastic idea and being like, this is such a great idea. How did I not see this, and this? Like, that was so obvious. And so then you just start getting like angry. And I think those seeds can kind of blossom into much larger things down the road of like, that was planted there. Now in the next script, I'm going to be like, God damn it, it happened again. How did I not see this?
This happens to me so much that it's always a self-talk problem that I have. I just this week had an experience where I got notes on something, and the criticism I got on this script was your hero should be interacting with the secondary characters more so that we care about the secondary characters more so that when they die at the low point, we're sad. That is like writing 101, right? But for some reason, in the first draft I had, we care about a couple of the secondary characters, but we don't get into most of them. So when they all die, yes, you don't care because I only focused on like one of the secondary characters. So I thought about it, and then I repitched these people about what I could do to fix that section. You know what I didn't do? I didn't have the hero interact a lot with the secondary characters again. Instead, I pitched a version where she goes out and interacts with other people because it's the second section is like an investigation period. And so she's going out to investigate and asking experts in the field to, give her information on something that's happening, which is taking her away from the secondary characters again. And the note I got back was, well, that doesn't solve the problem because she's still going out to other people. And I was like, fuck, because what I did was I saw a problem that they didn't see.
Yeah.
And I solved that problem and completely forgot about the secondary character problem because the first problem was actually much harder to solve than the character problem of loving these secondary characters. So I needed to solve this like pacing, urgency, character being active, plot problem. And then I completely forgot about this other character piece of needing to love the secondary characters. So I came off as a moron to them because they were like, how could you possibly forget this thing we told you about the secondary characters, you moron? But as a writer, it's important for me to pick apart this in a way to realize I'm not a moron and that like my skills were coming out in a different way. And it's okay. I can just take their notes into the next section of this process.
In addition to everything we just said, there's also this the talk of like comparing yourself to other people, and we've all been down this road. I think you're always comparing yourself, and so oh man, like I'll be thinking, I'm like, my God, I should have had an empire by now. What the hell? That contributes to things. I think like that adds into for writers and people all across the board in the entertainment industry. Maybe beyond that, just in life, you're always just like, I should be farther ahead.
Well, what do you do about that, Josh? You can't just drop the problem.
This is my problem is I just keep working towards it. I don't know. That's the thing is where I'm like, that's why when going back to the what you're saying is like, oh, I have these these goals that are set up here. I don't want to say lofty because they're just goals. And it's like, okay, this was just like one step on the way. This was just one step on the way. By the way, this is why when people win awards at various award shows, they just like break down crying because they're like, damn, this grind has been hard. Like legit. I've been working to get here so long.
So for me, something that has helped me, I mean, I struggle with this every single fucking day, comparing myself to other people. But every writer we've talked to on this podcast, whom I've admired, and every writer I've met whom I've admired, I've realized they're not as perfect writers as I thought they were. I just thought they were geniuses, which I'm not a born genius. So therefore, I can never achieve what they've achieved. And what I've realized is they're human beings who are smart and they work hard and they try to constantly improve themselves, which is all something I can do as well. And it's so helpful to just realize they're real people and they struggle with writing as much as you do, but maybe the difference, the reason they may have a career is because they persevere anyway and they continue to learn and grow. That to me is very helpful in times of like that article you sent yesterday where someone clearly succeeded at pitching and making a show that I wish I had made. In the heat of the moment, I wanted to give up and I was so angry, but my self-talk afterwards was, they probably struggled so hard. It's okay that they came in first. There's also room for me to have an idea similar, you know?
Let me just say, I didn't send that article.
I know.
I just sent it as like, oh, hey, I actually more so also was like, oh man, this was just clear. Like, I can't believe we didn't think about this.
I didn't write it. I know.
Just to touch on this, I think just like, I agree with everything you just said with like when you get to know people, everyone's just a human.
Yeah.
I think it just comes with time. As you go through the industry, as you see people, you're like, oh, everyone's just grinding. Everyone starts at a different path. Some people who absolutely crushed it in their 20s fizzled out and have drug problems, right? Like I don't want that. Like I'd rather not have, like there's always these weird, that's not everyone, of course. I'm just saying there's people that I'm sure we've admired 15 years ago that maybe are out of the industry at this point. You know what I mean? So yeah, it just takes time in seeing that and just going along with that.
Bad self-talk, don't do it. Good self-talk, do it.
Can I just say one last thing?
Yeah.
I tried to write down a couple characters.
Oh,
self-talk characters. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to tie this into screenwriting. The number one example I could think of someone who has negative self-talk was Charlie Kaufman in Adaptation. Go figure.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking of like Whiplash, Miles Teller character. He was just kind of on the pursuit of greatness and he could never just have enough, which I think this kind of also ties into expectations. And, I guess those were just two examples. And like I wrote down Good Will Hunting. I don't know if that guy, Will Hunting, he was like a genius, but this dude was always negative on himself for a little bit of time. That might be a stretch.
You know who has positive self-talk?
Who?
Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible. Does that man ever think, I can't get this done? No.
That's who I model myself after. Both characters.
I feel like that's problematic in other ways.
No. But there is that. It's like, I'm going to get it done. We're going to figure this out.
Yeah. I want to ask you one last thing before we wrap up, which is, do you do like affirmations or anything? Do you have a way to combat self-talk, negative self-talk when it happens?
I do it, but not so much with screenwriting.
Just with life.
With life and sports, things like that. You have to, I think.
Oh, sports. But
yeah.
But as we've talked about on this podcast, sports and screenwriting is actually weirdly very similar.
Very interconnected. With screenwriting, it's just more of a gut check, being like, you're good. You're good. You're on the path. You got this. You're going to figure this out. Our script that we're writing, we got this. And I firmly believe that. I know that in my body. I know we've got this. Like, and so I hate to go down that road, but going back to the sports stuff, I play a lot of tennis, obviously, and you're kind of by yourself, right? And you're just like, oh my God, how'd I miss that? God, I suck. Like, that's it. And then I'm like, wait, no, you're doing all right. You're fine. That was tough. This and this and this, which I've seen other athletes do. Not that I'm playing in Wimbledon or anything, but I still do it.
Amazing. And feels like a whole other topic. But yes, that's exactly the situation. I feel like it's exactly the mental process that happens with screenwriting and is exactly the counter to that mental process that you need in screenwriting.
Do you do it?
No.
Great.
No, I've started doing affirmations and I don't think it's helped. I think I just have to like get into the pattern of it, or maybe I need, like, I change my affirmations every day. So maybe I just like need to stick with one so that it like really embeds itself. And I also don't have an affirmation for when I feel negative self-talk. So you know what? After this episode, I'm going to write down an affirmation that I can use whenever that negative self-talk starts coming in telling me I'm stupid and other people are smarter and I should just give up.
No, you just got this shit. That's all I always tell myself.
See, I don't believe me when I tell myself that.
You have to believe yourself.
I need an explanation of why that's incorrect.
You just come talk to me about that part then.
Okay.
The last thing I'm going to just say is, if I turn into the guy who's like, the earth will provide and I am one with my surroundings, you have to check me.
I will not. I will be so happy with that phase of your life that I will not
You know
remind
what,
you
Tasha?
who you used to be.
Everything is meant to conspire in this exact moment.
Josh, those are really nice Birkenstocks you have on.
Yeah. All right.
All right, quote of the day. The quality of your writing is absolutely capped at your understanding of human behavior. You will never write above what you know about people. The quality of your writing will be a direct reflection of your understanding of the contradictions and complexities of human behavior. Tony Gilroy. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram or on Twitter, and Blue Sky at Tasha 3.0.
I'm Joshua Hallman on Twitter, Josh Hallman on Instagram.
And as always, the Act Two podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist.